because you always use that.
I just went like defending.
I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Welcome back to another edition of the Deluded Podcast, the DG Podcast, the Really and Truly Podcast. One love to everybody locked in. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. One love to the Spotify and the Apple crew, because you lot have listened to this or are listening to this just before the YouTube freeloaders. One love to everyone. As usual, you know, it's Friday. Hope everyone's in good spirits. Hope everyone's had a week to remember. Hope everyone's got their health, their loved ones the same and whatnot. Now, the Premier League's back, people. As an Arsenal fan, whether I want that or whether calling for it to return is a brave decision, I don't know. We've got a 6-pointer. You know, I'd even take it a step further, say it's a 9-pointer, because I would say not only do you earn 3 points and another 3 because it's a relegation rivals, I would say that's 3 positive points for Arteta to relieve some sort of pressure on his position. Now, whether it will, you know, whether he lasts is another thing. We heard he had 5 games to save his job, so by that logic, there's 4 games left. You know, Norwich, Burnley, Spurs, and I don't know who we have in October really at the start, but I know October's a difficult month for Arsenal. So yeah, I hope everyone's in good spirits. Obviously, we're going to preview the Premier League, talk about a couple talking points and whatnot. First thing I want to speak about is this. Now, I think obviously if you've been paying attention during the international break when England have played, you know, we've had the whole palaver with Poland booing the knees and carrying on silly, and we saw the unsavourable scenes in at half time in the corridors and whatnot. You know, we all saw against Bulgaria what happened, and it says a lot about these racist idiots than it does about anyone else. But I mean, and you're also seeing a lot of other incidences, like, you know, Sawyers of West Bromwich Albion, a West Brom fan's been given a lifetime ban. I know there's been something with a Bolton player. There's every day, you know, at this point, you can't see every incident of racism, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the real life. Now, for me, you know, as I tweeted at the time, people, obviously, when you see the Education Secretary Gavin Williamson, you know, I purposely said his name properly wrong, when he's confusing Marcus Rashford with a certain rugby player, it doesn't make sense, people. And I need to find just to paraphrase exactly what I meant, people. You know, but before I read it out to you, for me, it's either racism, ignorance, or unconscious bias in brackets, which is deep rooted within racism. Take your pick. Really, it's all 3. You know, these 2 players have 2 very different names, look different completely physically. You know, black is beautiful and there's many shades of black and you're just black, but they're 2 completely different complexions. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't get Harry Kane and Jack Grealish mixed up, and that's how silly it is. You know, the rugby don's got blonde hair more time. Rashford's got his, you know, I want to say level 1, but he's doing his footballer cuts. You know, they're probably 2 different heights. They're 2 different physicalities. They're 2 different people. You know, obviously in life, generally, there are honest mistakes and things, but do I think the educational secretary is doing that? No. You know, it's an unconscious bias to assume black people are all the same or all look the same. You know, I would actually say something sinister. They purposely do these things, you know, to kind of belittle and whatnot, people. If the educational secretary, who, remember, education is key, if the educational secretary can't even have the common decency to realize who he's talking to, you know, it's a slap in the face, and it tells us everything we know. He said he made a genuine mistake after saying he met Marcus Rashford online, when instead he met the rugby player Maro Itoje. Forgive me for mispronunciations, people. You know, what are you talking about? That's an unconscious bias, just downright racism, just downright coded. You're doing that to belittle people on purpose, people. You know, I'm not going to show you all Marcus Rashford, with respect. I know you're all probably rugby fans, but yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not going to show you Marcus Rashford because I'm pretty sure you all know what the brother looks like. But looking at this, you know, you tell me. In fact, there's a lovely picture of them together, people. Let me, you know, so one love to the Apple and Spotify. You look can't see this, but on YouTube you can. You know, does this look like 2 people look the same, brother? One's got extensions, blonde extensions in his hair. Marcus Rashford, look at it, 2 different people. So if you can look at them and say they're the same and assume you're talking about the same person, what does that mean? I'm sure you've probably got black people, black colleagues. What does that say about them? They typically say they got black friends. I don't know what black friends you got, and if you do, you've got one of them funky sort of brothers. I don't see no racism. You can call me the N-word, it's all right, and all of that nonsense. It's ridiculous. And let's be real, I'm pretty sure in his office there probably isn't black individuals of prominent positions, but there probably is cleaners and all of those sort of things, such is life. He's telling me you don't see them. It's degrading. It's very degrading. Obviously, big up Marcus Rashford and Maro as well, man, for what it's worth. I mean, sheer ignorance, sheer ignorance. It's just he doesn't. You're either ignorant or you don't want to learn. People, you don't want to learn. How can you make it? You can't. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. That's an educated choice. They look exactly the same. You won't mix up David Cameron and Boris Johnson, would you? I'm pretty sure you're not gonna mix up Ed Sheeran and some random brother on his and Phil Mitchell or something. So why are you doing it now, you dickhead, you man? Anyways, the less said on this pussy hole, the better, people. Again, I ain't got no time for this, as you can tell. I haven't got no time for this, because at this point you're just taking us for a dickhead. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, two different accents as well, man. I'm sure the brother on the right, the rugby don, I'm sure he's even from London, and Rashford's got the Mancunian accent. So even if you was an idiot and couldn't tell them apart, you'd think the accent would give it away. But like I said, personally, I don't think these things are done by mistake. I think these things are choice. I think they're done at belittling people and they're coded in fancy sort of ways. But that's that, people. Ignorance, one day ignorance will die, people. It should be the final nail in the coffin for his role, people, if I'm completely honest with you. But if you're honest with yourself, it's not good enough, people. It's not good enough. And even how has he spoken with Rashford? Because Rashford's spokesperson confirms that he's never had any direct communications with Donny. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And apparently, with Itoje, the whole purpose of that phone call was about equal access to education during the pandemic. How can this be your educational if the guy can't tell the difference? And it's not the first time. If this idiot cannot tell the difference and he's your educational secretary, how can you expect the common man, whether they should be racist or not, to actually improve? This is the nonsense, and we're never going to achieve true liberty and true freedom within this country. It's racism ingrained within Britain. It's ingrained. It's built on racism. They do a lot of good ways of making out that it's just America, but it's built on this. It's built on these things. Every day there's something. If it's not these lot, it's the government. If it's not the government, it's certain individuals, and we're always going to be here. Got to remember, England's a small place, and when you start looking at the demographics, minorities are a minority, so things will never change. That's why there's so much of a lax approach to racism and all the things that happen in society and mirrors football, and football the same and any other sport. It's quite degrading. It's quite belittling, man. What a dickhead, what an absolute dickhead. What a dickhead. And I mean, I'm not even going to read what he said. He said he has respect for both of them and all of that sort of tosh, people. But who gives a crap? Now, away from that, and let's get into football now, people. It just needed to be said. I'm sure you're all seeing, FIFA versus clubs versus countries. It's taking, or football, clubs versus countries associations. It's taking a new level. Several players have been blocked from returning to their clubs, really. And Liverpool faced the prospect of not having Fabinho and Alisson. Obviously, Chelsea could be without Thiago Silva. Manchester United could be without Fred for the Premier League, but also when they play young boys midweek in the Champions League. For what it's worth, people, if you don't know, FIFA has blocked Premier League clubs from selecting Brazilian players who they refuse to release for international duty for 5 days at the request of the country's footballing association. Apparently, the world governing body has applied Article 5 and enforced a restriction period of September the 10th to the 14th, which would see the players miss this week's round of Premier League fixtures and also Tuesday's Champions League fixtures. The players who were not released for their World Cup qualifiers against Argentina and Peru are Rafinha of Leeds, Manchester United's Fred, Thiago Silva of Chelsea, Ederson and Gab Jesus of Manchester City, Firmino, Fabinho, and Alisson of Liverpool. So yeah, that's quite an L for Liverpool. You're probably looking at Adrian or someone else in goal. For Leeds, you're going to be without Rafinha and whatnot. So yeah, man. But if I flick to a next article, apparently Liverpool actually believe FIFA has no basis to prevent Premier League clubs from selecting Brazilian players this weekend. So I'm sure all the clubs, City, Liverpool, they'll all be doing their own individual little things to get around this, and they'll all be collectively lobbying together. And there has to be something in this, really and truly. I mean, health is wealth at the end of the day. I understand both positions, people, but all these clubs, I'm sure they're employing the lawyers and sports lawyers and all of these sort of things, people. I'm trying to skip to what's going on, people. Apparently, Liverpool believe that due to the circumstances surrounding the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and the quarantine measures players would have to face upon their return to the UK had they travelled, FIFA has no foundation with which to stop players from being selected by their clubs this weekend. And obviously, the other clubs will be latching onto this. Apparently, most of the affected clubs also believe FIFA has no basis to ban the players as well, for what it's worth, people. So we'll have to see what's going on, people. We really will have to see, but it's not pretty, man. It's not pretty. Obviously, Watford got their own thing with Chile, and for me, fundamentally, faith. Man said faith. I'm reading something about faith. For me personally, I would say health comes first, really and truly. Health comes first, man. And obviously, Sky Sports also reported that Chile, Mexico, and Paraguay had called on FIFA to enforce the restriction period of Ben Brereton of Blackburn and Chile, Francisco Celerata of Watford and Chile, Newcastle and Paraguay's Miguel Amariño, and obviously Raul Jimenez of Wolves/Mexico. And I think it sets a bad precedent. Health is wealth. I mean, we're in rules are rules, in it, but we're in uncharted waters, and I believe health is wealth. Obviously, Liverpool, there is a health point of view, and I'm not just saying just Liverpool. Health is wealth. Health is fundamental. These people are human, but if we move away from the emotion, Liverpool want to be able to select their players in the league. It's just like Ronaldo. He's made sure he's quarantined at the right time so he can get things going at United. So that's them. For FIFA, obviously, they want players playing. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards, man. But hopefully there's a resolution to such. Away from that, as FIFA still want to press ahead with plans of a World Cup every 2 years. Southgate indirectly, and we need to speak about England, really. Southgate kind of said that he's spoken with Arsene Wenger and whatnot. We all know UEFA have hit it with resentment, and apparently their president warns that the World Cup plans could lead to a European boycott. So you mean there could be a World Cup without the current World Cup holders in France, previous ones in Germany, in Spain, etc., etc. Obviously, I don't know if the World Cup will happen, but I don't think these clubs would back out. I just think it's you trying to bully people and whatnot. The president has said, I think it will never happen as it's so much against the basic principles of football. I'm not disagreeing with what you said, but what the hell do you know about principles? I find it very funny whenever there's incidences that threaten to shake up the fabric of football, whether it's a World Cup every 2 years or a Super League. You've got the Premier League, sports houses, UEFA and organizations talking like they are there to protect the integrity of the game. The integrity of the game's gone down the toilet a long time ago. Just say what you want. Like I said, all of these people have dirty hands, and they're saying the other person does. I don't understand that. What do you know about integrity of the game and things? UEFA have just been doing nonsense the whole time, really and truly. What are you on about? And I do think in general, away from whether we should have a World Cup every 2 years, the makeup of it and how it shakes up how we play international qualifiers, I'm for it, because again, they're more clustered and it's not, you get rid of a lot of pointless things, people. Apparently he said it's against the basic principles of football, and he's criticized FIFA for not consulting UEFA before making their plans public. He said we could decide not to play in it. As far as I know, the South Americans are on the same page. So good luck with a World Cup like that. And as I said, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it will never happen, as it's so much against the basic principles of football. To play every summer a 1 month tournament for the players is a killer. It's every 2 years. It clashes with the Women's World Cup, with the Olympic football tournament. The value is precisely because it is every 4 years. You wait for it. It's like the Olympic Games. It's a huge event. I don't see our federation supporting that. You lot are where the money is. I hope that FIFA will come to their senses, because I don't see the right approach to go everywhere except the federations, not to speak with us. They didn't come. They didn't call. I didn't get a letter or anything. I just read the media. They don't owe you nothing. Same way you lot don't always consolidate with FIFA people. And obviously, this mainly came as Wenger is conducting a feasibility study at the request of 166 footballing associations. Apparently, the proposal changes the international calendar and would mean a major finals every year, alternating between World Cups in even years and continental finals such as the European Championship and Copa America in odd years. Within it, FIFA proposes to cut the number of international windows in a season to 1 or at most 2 in October and March, with no national team playing any more than 7 matches, including playoffs. Now, away from it being a next World Cup, I would like to see the international fixture calendar list revamped. That's something FIFA and UEFA could practice what they preach as well. Wenger is right in the sense of, he said that the calendar currently is outdated, not practical, and not efficient, if I'm completely honest with you. And I think a lot of club managers away from the World Cup, just in terms of changes and the players, they would support it. I tried to, so we'll have to see. Wenger said, I tried to create a calendar that is clear, simple to understand, and that is modern. That means a better separation between club, football, and federation. By respecting this 80-20% of balance, I believe if I was in a club, I would sign with both hands for that program. It would give me time to have the players and get the focus on what is important for the club. Overall, I would say the better separation between the club and national team football would improve the quality of concentration on both sides. That is true. Apparently the proposals were championed by a group of former internationals such as Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, real Ronaldo R9, Peter Schmeichel, and Tim Cahill. Now, these lot are loyal to coin, in it. Whoever is paying them, whoever is giving them an ambassadorial role, they will support the thing really and truly. So I actually am not against necessarily a World Cup every 2 years, but I am. And for me, fundamentally moving away from that, I would like to see the laws changed and bettered, really. Well, I say laws, just the calendar, I mean, bettered, really, if I'm completely honest with you. Away from that, people, obviously, you watched England draw 1-1, a good Harry Kane goal, a fantastic strike from Harry Kane, cancelled out in the dying embers of the game. Obviously, it all went terrible. Why Southgate didn't make substitutes, I don't know. I'm at the point where I don't try and go in depth with Southgate. He's bewildering. He's a good man manager, but he's not cut out for the job. Saying that, he had a good World Cup, the last World Cup we went to, just on the basis of where we got to, and the same happens for the Euros. Now, whether the World Cup will be the same, I don't know, because I still don't see a style of play. I still see us playing with the handbrake. It was terrible, man. I think Kyle Walker over the international break, his position, unless he improves, should be up for grabs. He showed great restraint. Not, why Glit is allowed to, whatever he was doing to his neck, he aired it. There was a bit of a fracas at half time. We did have opportunities to score, but it was shaky, man, really and truly, by all stretch of the imagination. I think Pickford was shaky. I think the whole team looked a bit poor, but I think in particular Grealish, Mount, Walker didn't look up for it. Raheem Sterling was okay, but way too greedy. I think Luke Shaw, he weren't really to blame for the goal, but I did think he could have stopped the cross. You couple that in with Southgate and the subs, I'm at the point where if it's not an international tournament, talking about England is boring, man. Like, I watched the game, but I don't watch. I haven't tried. I've purposely tried to watch, definitely not England, but any international friendlies, because I just can't get behind it unless there's serious things around it. So, pardon me, the less said about England, the better, really and truly, if I'm completely honest with you. The less said, the absolute better, because it's not really worth it, man. Like, we're always talking about it. In a negative sense. Away from all of that, though, people, if you've been paying attention to things off the field, newly on signing a former Bayern Munich and Manchester City, as well as German international Jerome Boateng, has been fined 1.5 million after being convicted of biting, punching, and spitting blood in the face of the mother of his twin daughters on a family holiday. But he has avoided a 5-year jail term, people. This is quite crazy, really and truly. He appeared in court on Thursday morning, people. The 33-year-old was convicted of assaulting his ex-fiancée, Sharon Sandler, during a Caribbean holiday 3 years ago, but avoided, as I said, a 5-year term, people. Apparently she told the court that Boateng bit her and spat blood in her face and punched her in the kidney so hard she could not breathe. He denied all the allegations made against him as he testified for almost 2 hours on Thursday. The footballer claimed that he was the one who was attacked, telling the court that his missus had become aggressive and insulting towards him and hit him, injuring his lip. He was convicted of causing dangerous bodily harm and insulting her in an incident in 2018 while they were on holiday in the Turks and Caicos Islands in the Caribbean. He was then handed a 1.5 million fine, which is the highest possible financial damages that could be imposed by the Munich District Court, people. After the judge gave his verdict, Boateng hurried out of the courtroom surrounded by bodyguards and drove out in a black SUV, which was pursued by photographers. Prosecutor had called for a suspended 18-month prison sentence and a fine of 1.2 million, 1.2 million pounds, 1.5 million euros, what she got for what she described as a toxic relationship. Boy, why do you need so much peas, though? Why 100 and something, what 1.5 million? To be fair to you, I don't want to comment on this because I don't know who's telling the truth. What I will say is, innocent until proven guilty. You've been proven guilty. So, yeah, it's absolutely disgusting that a man will put his hands on a woman that that she'll put her hands on him and he'll put his hands on her. Obviously, the stuff we read out is quite gruesome. It's quite disgusting. It has no place. And if he has done this, to be honest, he deserves to have a jail sentence, and like I always say, I sympathy for the victim, because the physical wounds might heal, but the mental wounds might not. That might, her relationship with her next boyfriend, with her sons as they get older, assuming she's got any, with someone that will treat her right and not do things like this. Even a male she might go Sainsbury's and the cashier might be a male. It affects her relationships in life, and this is why I have great sympathy for people like this. It's quite upsetting, and it has no place in life, man. And I mean, any decent human being who is listening to this right now, I don't have to expand anymore. It's absolutely disgusting and things like that, if I'm completely honest with you. And in that regards, it is what it is. Moving away from that, and to finally get towards wrapping things up, people. Sadly, it's the Premier League back. I say sadly because Arsenal got Norwich, people. You've got Crystal Palace, Spurs to kick things off. You've got Arsenal versus Norwich, Brentford versus Brighton, Leicester versus Man City, Manchester United against Newcastle, Ronaldo debut, Southampton versus West Ham United, Watford Wolves, Chelsea, Aston Villa, some decent games. Patrick Vieira, hopefully he can get one over Spurs in the lunchtime kickoff. I can't look beyond Spurs. I just think Palace will be in trouble. I think Spurs are in good form. As you can see, they're top of the table, and business as usual in that regards. Of course, I hope Vieira and Zaha and Cole can do something about that. Pardon me, Brentford against Brighton. That's going to be an interesting game. I'm keen to see, what Brentford have made a decent start. Brighton have got a load of plaudits. I think that's a fairly even game. I'm keen to see Ivan Toney against the experienced Brighton defenders. Arsenal versus Norwich. Arteta has to get a win. He's spoken a lot about, I've got the tools, I've got this and that. We're at the point where we're actually tired of speaking about Arsenal. Not only do you have to win, it's about a win's a win. So I think many people will take a win with us playing shaky and whatnot. When you haven't got A points or scored A goal or whatever, or haven't got A win, it's nice to just get such. But if you could win in a convincing manner, you might pick up some momentum. It might relieve some sort of pressure. A win's a win, but you've got to win, and you've got to win convincingly, whether that's the scoreline or how you lot play people, or his peak. You said you've got the tools. You said you've got to work. You said there's no excuses. Go out and make it happen. Short, sweet, to the point. You said you got allegedly there's 4 games to save his job. Do I think it's that based on the way Edu has been speaking? Of course not, or him himself. So you've got 4 games to save your job. Arsenal against Norwich. I'm happy this isn't at Carrow Road, people. I'll be completely honest with you. If I'm Norwich, not if I'm Norwich, if I'm any team that plays Arsenal, you think you can beat us, and you probably can. You just, if you do your job, you turn up and you look like a football team, Arsenal will self-implode, will give you opportunities, and it's down to you to take it. We need too many variables at this football club to be perfect before we can put in a shift. And as a football fan, how many times are you going to have everybody fit, no suspensions, no decisions go against you? It's like I don't know what sort of game we're playing. It's like, football, like the world, life isn't fair. Neither is football. Get with the times, So that's Arsenal, Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, as I said. Crystal Palace welcome Spurs. You've got the Cristiano Ronaldo debut potentially. He has been training the last couple of days with Man United. I'm sure he's not. I don't think he'll sit on the bench. He might, but I don't think he will. You've got Ronaldo's debut against Newcastle. Probably the game of the day, I would say, is Leicester versus Manchester City. It's a shame that's at 3 p.m. because that's going to be an interesting clash as Manchester City travel to Leicester. Southampton, West Ham, that's going to be a decent game. Wolves versus Watford. Can't look beyond Wolves. I back Southampton to beat West Ham. I think there's a couple of shockers here. You've got Aston Villa against Chelsea, 5:30. I know Lukaku's fitness is touch and go. But yeah, man, if I had to say predictions for the weekend, we might as well start doing this. Spurs will probably win, but I'm going to say 2-1 Crystal Palace, because obviously we can't say Spurs win. Arsenal versus Brighton. In my heart, I'm going to say a jammy 2-1 Arsenal win. We go behind and we come back in. I'm going to say 2-2 Brentford Brighton. I think it'll be a draw. So I'm going to say 2-2. Leicester versus Manchester City. As I said, I think there might be shockers. So I'm going to say, I would typically not look beyond Manchester City, but I'm going to say Leicester 1, Manchester City 0. I'm going to say Manchester United 4-0 against Newcastle. I think Ronaldo, Brace, Rashford, Rashford, Greenwood, one of them guys will get on the score sheet and someone else will pattern it. So I'm going to say 4-0. Southampton against West Ham. Pardon me, I changed my mind. I'm going to say 2-1 West Ham. Watford Wolves, I'm going to say 1-1. Chelsea versus Aston Villa. My heart is saying 3-1 Chelsea. But I'm gonna say 3-2 Aston Villa. So that would be how I'm feeling in relation to the fixture calendar, people. I know transfer window is done, but should we see if there's any transfer news and whatnot, or see what the gossip columns are saying? Just because it's a nice way to end this. Hit the like button if you're on YouTube if you haven't already. Make sure you're following across Apple, Spotify, and all of these things. And shout out to Arsenal ladies Medina as well, as she's hit 100. Hit 100 goals. Obviously, Arsenal reached the group stages of the Champions League, something the men's team can't. It's really good. And obviously, in 10 or so, 20 years from now, Medina's probably inspired a generation of female footballers. Who knows? Someone that goes on to do better than her will use her as a guide point, and that's good for the game. Ronaldo said he's not at Man United for a vacation. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm not going to read it. We know he doesn't go for vacations and things. He's about. When you mention Ronaldo, you mention winning. When you look at the gossip column, people, Bayern Munich are interested in 25-year-old Timo Werner, who has not started a Premier League match for Chelsea since the start of the season, rightly so. If I'm Chelsea, I'm flogging him. End of the season, I'd probably not do it in Jan, but flog him. You'd imagine Bayern Munich can make their peas back. He probably will go to Bayern and start bagging a couple of goals. But here, it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the Premier League. And he's just, it's nothing. It's not that his mentality is poor. It's just, he just looks like he don't believe in himself scoring goals. Lukaku might be in poor form and he might be missing, but he keeps going. And other strikers, it looks like Werner generally it gets him down. And I think, he just looks mentally, he's not prepared for this thing, really. So I think they should cut their losses. Allegedly, in January, Chelsea are set to revive their interest in 22-year-old France centre-back Jules Koundé. If Seville lower their asking price to about 50 million euros. Apparently, a former Arsenal linkee in Frank Kessié, the 24-year-old, he's drawing interest from Liverpool, PSG, and Chelsea. So yeah, AC Milan face a fight to hold on to him. Apparently, Arsenal have identified Sevilla striker Youssef El Nesri, 24-year-old, as an ideal replacement for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but the Moroccan is determined to stay at the Spanish club. So they're just, papers are just using us probably, to gauge interest, and it wouldn't surprise me if he signs a new deal. Allegedly, Kingsley Coleman is likely to reject any offers from the Bundesliga champions to extend his contract, as the 25-year-old is dreaming of a move to the Premier League. Telemans is being watched by Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Manchester United, as Leicester tried to tie the 24-year-old down to a new contract. Didn't he sign one 2 years ago? 2 years ago or something, or 2 minutes ago? The Foxes have also made contact with Serie A side Sassuolo about Italy winger Berardi over a possible January move. Barcelona made a £68 million bid to re-sign forward Neymar before the reality of the club's financial problems saw Messi leave the Catalonian side to actually ironically join the Brazilian people, as you lot saw at Paris Saint-Germain. Liverpool will target Valencia and Spain midfielder Carlos Soler as a replacement for Dutchman Wijnaldum, who obviously left the club on a free transfer to PSG. Apparently, Paul Pogba thinks Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should sign Tuchel, the 21-year-old who he's been bigging up. Again, in relation to Jack Wilshere training at Arsenal and Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Mikel Arteta coming to resolution. Check my last other live streams, people. I've touched on that. Apparently, Laporte has confirmed, Barcelona's president has confirmed that there's a scheduled meeting with the agents of Ousmane Dembele as the Catalonians look to tie him down to a new deal. AC Milan are interested in 25-year-old Marco Asensio, who plays for Real Madrid, people. So that's that in relation to that. Obviously, we've been here for 28 or so minutes. Again, not too much to speak about, but we've had to sadly cover some racism. We've sadly talked about Jerome Boateng's domestic violence case. The fact that, Liverpool could be missing a couple of players on the weekend, and that probably means Adrian's probably starting in goal. We touched on England. We previewed the Premier League. Pardon me. And we probably said 1-2 other bits and pieces throughout this that I haven't touched upon. But yeah, man, I enjoy doing this podcast. It's one of my favorite bits of content, and I hope you lot do too. Please check out the rest of the content. By the time you're seeing this, there's probably a lot of content to come from me today, which is Friday. I'm gonna, preview the Arsenal Norwich game. I'm gonna have Mo on my channel from 4 p.m. Q&A show as well. 11:30 live stream where we'll be previewing and talking about things. Apologies for you, people. Pardon me, a stupid o'clock. Apologies, people. I get up crack of dawn for you lot. Bag of content, people. Obviously, Arsenal versus Norwich watch along tomorrow, so make sure you're setting your reminders of that and things like that. But yeah, man, it's always lovely being here with you lot. And on that note, have a great start to the morning. Hope you've all had a great week. Hope you even have a greater weekend. Hopefully, Arsenal can get 3 points. As I said, we heard Mikel Arteta has 5 games. You now got 4 international breaks gone. Now start your season in the way you want to send it. Start it, people. But for now, people, deluded. I'm out. It's been a fantastic pod.
First, as always with that,
Active and defending.
I think it's like